Boom, we're recording. We told you this would happen. We are here with Brenna and Tristan. They're still national champions, even though it's like 6 months later. We all have lives, and some of us have children. Paul here.
Hello. I am so excited you guys are here. Do you want to introduce yourselves to the nice people at home?
Yeah, I'm Tristan. I don't know what else to say. I'm a senior. I go to Berkeley. That's about it. Yeah.
I'm Brenna. I also go to Berkeley. I'm a sophomore. My major is philosophy. What's your
Great.
major, Kristen?
It's a political science. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's a lot of political science and philosophy in debate. I've been doing some like hiring in everybody's resumes. Like I studied political science and philosophy.
There's two of my
Uh,
favorites.
Yeah, unfortunately.
so you
I thought we were going to
recently
talk about
won.
Sasan's major in school at this point too. I guess not. Mine comm
Yeah.
for me, master and bachelor's anyway.
Um, So you guys won a bunch of stuff recently. What kind of debate do you do? What'd you win? Where do you compete?
Yeah, so we compete in parliamentary debate for Berkeley. We recently won the NPTE, the National Parliamentary Tournament of Excellence, and the NPDA.
And they're top speakers at both of them. Tristan was top speaker at NPTE. Brenna was top speaker at NPDA. Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. About as good as you can do in college Parli for those of you who are unaware of that, because there's a significant number of the people who watch us obviously do PF or LD or policy, and then they go into those formats of debate. Even though we keep proselytizing for Parli, something I just want to. So Berkeley keeps coming up, right? Obviously, because that's where you go. And I just wanted to ask, like, straight up, do you enjoy it? Because there's a lot of students here who like ostensibly want to go to Berkeley, and like before we get down the debate rabbit hole, which is going to be the majority of this, would you two recommend it as two people who are there living through it? Tristan, obviously, you're almost done. Brenna, you're getting through it, but got a little while to go. Like Berkeley, forget about debate for a second. If they're not going to do debate, is Berkeley a good place to land at? You think?
I mean, like, we definitely have very different perspectives because obviously Tristan is having the transfer experience, and I had like the full, freshman experience, and I will have 4 years here. So, like, I don't know, you can go first with your thoughts.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like it's definitely a lot. It's a huge adjustment, but I think it was absolutely like 100% the right place for me to land in a lot of ways. And I think like I feel very grateful and very lucky to be here in a lot of ways. But it is also like it's just such a unique experience. It's very strange. It's a weird place. But yeah, I think it's facilitated like a lot of growth for me as a person and like shaped a lot of like my access to like opportunities and things that I can do after college. And I would definitely recommend it. I think for me, it was like the scary option. Like I was scared of Berkeley, and I think that's why it was right for me to go to Berkeley. And I think it's like pushing me to grow in a lot of ways.
So not everybody watching this, I guess, will know that we are not meeting right now. We we know each other because you two were on the DVC team, which Paul and I coached. So I guess let's start with like, what were you doing before you were on the DVC team? Like, where were you? Were you doing debate? How old were you? What was your sort of, yeah? Let's start with Tristan.
I was probably 18. I just graduated high school, and I was like, I didn't take the SATs, didn't take the ACTs, took like one or two AP classes, but I kind of just knew I was gonna go to community college. My sister had done it. My mom was like enrolled in community college at the same time I was. Like my dad had went to community college, and so like I just kind of always knew that that was like kind of the path for me. And yeah, when I arrived, it was basically all online. And yeah, I joined the speech and debate
I
team.
forget that sometimes about you, Tristan. That like the whole time technically at DVC, pretty much in the last semester, it was online for you.
Yeah, right up until that last semester. So I spent like literally a year and a half just like going to online classes only. And I think that's one of the reasons my transition to Berkeley was like a little bit weird, or like it was like a little bit like unexpected in a few ways, was because like, yeah, I just not spent very much time in a college classroom. But yeah, I joined the team like as soon as I got to DVC and like started competing almost immediately. And I had a really fun time. I took like a speech and debate class when I was in high school, and the DVC team came highly recommended. And yeah, I met Paul and Sasan, and I was like, wait, I kind of like these people. Like I want to be on a team where like they're in charge of things. And so yeah, it was the right decision for me.
What was it like with it being online? Because I mean, I was there, but I wasn't a student, and you weren't gonna tell me like, "Hey, this sucks."
It was awesome. Like I think like it was a really nice way to have something like outside of just going to class, and to have like a social element even when you were like away from like campus, and it might have been harder to meet people, to just be like forced into like all these like Discord lobbies with people or whatever, and like
Yeah,
just
we put a lot of work
really
into it.
these lobbies with people. It was great. Like I like, even though it was like a lot of like Zoom and a lot of time on Discord, like it was just really cool, like actually being able to meet people from like DVC before it was like my last semester. So I got like time to meet people even though things were online. So I really liked it. I think it was comparatively a lot better than what my experience would have been had I not joined the team.
How about you, Brenna?
Uh,
As far as your when before the team, coming to the team, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I don't think I really was alive before I joined the team, because I wasn't never left the house. I didn't know anyone. Fun fact, I was homeschooled, and I joined the team like right after, and joined DVC right after I turned like 15. So before then was just a lot of like nothing. But I think like the one thing was I was like a very serious like classical musician, and so I was like pouring a lot of time into that. But that was something that was kind of like, something that my family really wanted me to do, even though like I wanted something to be able to put that amount of like time and effort and passion into. And so when I joined the team, that kind of became like my outlet for like, you know.
How do you think that affected you, Brenna? Because like I definitely have thoughts on that, and we've talked about it a lot. But like,
right.
Sasan, me, and Rob have all talked about how like certain backgrounds for kids really lend themselves to like being coached in speech and debate, like being a dancer or being like in the military potentially or whatever. But like you had this classical music training, and near as I can tell, your like teacher was like just straight out the Soviet Union, like hardest of the hardest hitting people. And so like do you think that did play a big role in like your having, because you just took it up like a sponge, right? Like I've never in my life met anyone who like wanted to practice whether it was speech or debate than you. So like, do you think a lot of that had to do with that, or do you think that was sort of like an internal thing that you just had in you all along, or like how much of that was for lack of a better word beaten in you?
So, when I did music, my dad always told me, he was like, what you're doing like right now, like with music, the level that you're at right now is harder than anything else you'll ever do. Like, or like when I was struggling with homework, he's like, the level that you got with music is higher than any level of math that you could ever do. And I think I realized that like, compared to what I was doing, like that practice was brutal, like hours a day, like brutal, like just so in every way, physically, like mentally, like emotionally exhausting. And so I think that I was primed to practice speech and debate to the extent that I did, because that was like, it was light work comparatively, like not actually, but it was like not that it was easy necessarily. It was
What was fun? Like
absolutely more fun. And so but yeah, I think that like I think that music taught me how to practice, and like it gave me a perspective for like seeing understanding like ceilings, like skill ceilings, and like what it takes to get to a certain place.
We were in person. That you were there a year before Tristan joined, right? So what was that dynamic like, socially, and then like being around people who are older than you, and we were like going to travel tournaments and stuff, right? So what can you tell me about what that was like?
I mean, I think both of you, but specifically Sasan, like you knew I loved it. Like that year, literally like was changed my life. Amazing. I loved the whole team. I loved like I loved everything. I think I didn't really love speech and debate that much at that point. I don't know, Sasan, if I don't know, Paul, if you remember this, but Sasan, you had to give me a little talk when I was like, well, can't break a novice. I'm quitting, never coming back. And you were like, shut the fuck up. That's like not like that means nothing. That literally means nothing. Like, are you a quitter? And so then I didn't quit because Matt and Tanya and Sasan like peer pressured me out of it. And then I don't know. Yeah, like being in person was great. I think that like a lot of times I miss that team dynamic specifically of like that in-person practice. And like, I don't know, it was crazy. Like, I think that like, I don't know, maybe me and Tristan, I was saying this the other day, me and Tristan were in the throes of like crazy Paul team. I think that was like crazy Hawkins team. And I think like that shit was so, like that shit was so cool. And like almost everyone on the team was like a chiller. And yeah, it was a little weird being like significantly younger than anyone. Like the closest person I was to on the team were Elba and Tanya, who were both 19. And like I think of myself now and I'm like, I would not be friends with a 15-year-old.
Well, and it's so funny because then like those next 2 years, like the average age of the team just shot down, where we had like you and Juhi and Rich and even Tristan was like 19 as like the old states person or whatever, like hanging out.
Paul
on the
and
team.
I were on that team when we were like 21.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so it's definitely, I remember the first time I judged you once before this, Brenna, but I remember the first time I ever met you in the context of like, oh, like, because I'm going to be a coach at DVC and like, this is a student. I was at the school in like the old team classroom we do in the PAC. And I had come mostly to show Matt and Tanya like LD stuff and like even Dakota a little bit. Cause like at that time he was, Matt's partner or something. And you were there for like a second, and we were like, okay, cool, let's start talking about LD or whatever. Is everyone here? And like, oh, we'll get Brenna. And then you came in, and you're like, my dad's here, I have to go. And I'm like, what does she mean her dad's here? She has to go. I'm like, we just got here. And they're like, oh, she's like 15. I'm like, what? I was like, there's a 15-year-old?
Like literally a child.
Like, what?
Paul, that is not the first time we met. The first time we met was the day after Christmas outside Starbucks. We were doing a round.
Yes.
And my sister literally came in and was like, Mom needs you home right now. Get in the car.
Yeah, there was a lot of that in the early Brenna archive for sure.
Yeah, there was a little bit of conversation of like, so we just don't travel or to tournaments, right? Like that just sounds like we just don't do that. And
well, and I think the interesting thing is that Brenna's first year obviously is in that in-person context, but then like in the same way that the online was good for Tristan or whatever, the online was amazing for Brenna. Because we didn't have to convince her parents to go anywhere or whatever. And
well,
stuff.
Right, but I mean, even though it was a frequent like, I have to go, because I think like it for me it was always like, Brenna, you don't have to stay for practice or whatever. I'd be like, are you available? You'd be like, yeah, and I'd be like, you're saying yes, but I'm sensing that actually you're like, no, I have time, it'll be fine. And I could like hear in your voice that you were going to get in trouble. But with that having been said, I think your parents like were very supportive. Like they came to like overnight tournaments and like stayed at the hotels and stuff, right? And we couldn't have traveled you otherwise, so that's really cool. Well, I want to kind of speak to something that Brenna was saying, and it's kind of weird that we're talking about this offset by a year. So maybe I'll ask Brenna first, but Tristan, I'm also curious what your experience with this was like. What is your memory of like starting debate and being bad at it? Because I work with people all the time, and I don't remember yelling at you that you're not a quitter or something. but this happens all the time where people like think like because they're losing in novice, that means like they don't got it. And it literally means nothing. So yeah, Paul.
I would say it obviously they can answer that and whatnot, but I find it so funny because like I wasn't super involved with Brenna's like very beginning, and obviously Tristan did a little bit in high school before she came, like a little bit or whatever, she took that class. But I'm very interested about this for Tristan because Tristan came in, and I'm not sure Tristan ever lost a novice round. I'm pretty sure Tristan in novice never lost a round, and then you got moved up to open really quickly. Am I wrong about it? Because I know for sure your first 2 tournaments you won every single round. Because your team and then Alex and I can't remember her name, you closed out the first tournament, like the camp tournament, And then we went to like the GGO equivalent or whatever. You also won that. And then I was like, okay, I guess it's time for Rich and Tristan to go to Open. I don't know.
Yeah,
But sorry,
we
go
very
ahead.
quickly were like, Tristan is a murderer. But Brenna, tell us about your pre-murder days.
Oh, so I think when I started, like, I didn't think that I was like the worst. Like, I think that like me and all the other novices, I kind of like, like regarded as like in the same like bubble or whatever. And then wait, I forget. Is the DVC thing before or after Paul Winners?
After.
Before.
Just no.
Is
DVC
it?
thing is the third week.
Oh, you're right. October,
Yes.
November. It's after.
It's also
Wait.
renamed now. But anyway, go ahead.
The DVC thing is November.
What?
Yeah.
You
I told
changed
you.
my name?
I told you we renamed it.
What's it changed to?
The Bernanke.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
didn't
grow
know
up.
that.
Anywho, moving
I didn't know
on. Sorry,
that.
sorry for naming it after your dead mentor, Sasan. I guess that's
You
a
didn't
problem.
tell me
we'll call it
this.
the DVC thing instead. Anyway, go ahead,
DVC
Brenna.
thing is a cute name, but yeah, the Bernanke Invitational is a good
Cute
one.
and clever.
Cute and
Yeah,
clever.
cute and clever.
In the...
Right.
That's right. I wrote that. In
Yeah,
the
it's anyway. Go ahead, Brenna.
Wait,
Uh,
what came first? I forget. Paul Winners was first.
Paul Winners comes first.
yeah,
It's
Paul
the first
Winners
weekend of
is first.
November.
And then, yeah, okay. So I think Paul Winners was when I kind of realized that I was like maybe kind of bad. Paul Winners, I was judged by you, and I remember I in like literally double ox, lost on T because it's novice. So, and I remember you picked us up, and I was so distraught. And then everyone told me, "Don't worry, Sasan says that Paul is really good, so Paul is the only ballot you care about." So that was like what kept me going to be like, okay, so I'm not like absolutely.
He's the only person who's ever said that in history. But yeah.
So I was like, okay, it's fine. And then Sasan ruined my life. So next tournament's coming around, and it's time to move everyone up to Open. And Sasan moves every single person on the team up to Open except for me, and doesn't give me a partner. Sasan makes me a hybrid with someone from OCC. Shout out Cameron Pettis. That was so the tournament itself, like I felt like we were doing good. And then, routes come back 2-2, we don't break, and I'm distraught. And then the whole like next month or so, I was like, I'm gonna quit. And so like I feel like
Maybe November's just a bad month for you. We'll come to that later, but go ahead. I'm just thinking about this now. There's a pattern emerging. But it's of you wanting to quit in November, but go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. And then I think I realized that I was being dramatic, and I probably just wanted attention and people to feel bad for me. And then I realized that like it wasn't worth it. And then over winter break, we started working and like grinding to the extent that I could with like my whatever restrictions. And I think that whole first year I wasn't like really that good ever. And then I think at the end of the year, me and Tanya had a conversation where Tanya was like, I'm coming back. And I was like, oh. And I was like kind of gossiping with other people, like, does Tanya want to partner with me? Like, who's gonna partner with me? Like, who's gonna be partner? Does Tanya want to be my partner? Blah, blah, blah. And then Tanya hit me up, like, so she literally probably texted me like partners ? And I was like, yes. And I'm like, so this is my chance. Like, this is my chance to like start getting good, because Tanya was so much better than me. So I'm like, she can pull me up. And also if like I'm with Tanya, I'm going to be doing harder rounds, and I'm going to be able to like have the opportunity to get better. And I think that year was a year probably like, I was still really bad, but like the year of like most growth. And that's like where I started like becoming the debater I am today or whatever.
Well, and this is just for context year wise, this is like Brenna's last tournament this year is in, I think, February, NCFA, but this is the COVID year where 2 weeks later, everything shuts down. And so as a result of that, I'm already going to be working at DVC the next year. And I come home from Stockton because there's no reason for me to go to the UOP was locked down too. And so this is when really I start kind of talking to Tanya, mostly Tanya initially. And then obviously she's like, yeah, talking about Brenna. I want to mention something here just for historical context. Another one of those like funny, I knew I was going to be a coach on the team, and there was a meeting, and I don't even think Sasan was at this meeting. I'm pretty sure it was me, Blake, and Rob, because whatever, it's like it was after some actual work meeting.
They were checking if you had a degree on the way into the meeting.
But so I come into a Zoom meeting because Blake's already been talking to Rob, and they told me to come in like once they were done with whatever. So I come in, and when I come in, they're in the middle of a conversation, and Rob goes, "Yeah, so we're just not going to let Tanya come back and compete." Because like it's like Rob's like I don't really like the 3-year thing, and it gives me a weird vibe and blah 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 blah. And I'm just sitting there listening to this, like because I've already been like really talking to Brenna and Tristan and like not Brenna, sorry, Brenna and Tanya, and like they're super ready to commit to like working hard, and I'm excited to get back into that. And I'm like, hey, totally hear you. I'm the new guy. I'm fine with whatever is whatever. Here's like 17 reasons I think you need to let Tanya compete this year. And like but by like the second thing I said, Rob's like, no, that's actually totally fine. We're gonna let her compete. And I'm like, okay, cool.
That's the way it always. That's the way it always was.
There's like this very narrow window though, where it's like there was some reality.
Like, at first, it was like I don't think Tanya should do debate, and it's like, well, she wants to, and she's really good at it. It's like okay. So it always like Hawkins always lets people do whatever, but so I think that actually sets us up nicely to talk about your experience, Tristan, because Brenna was on the team when I was still the only debate coach, although
Reed.
I'm a terrible person. Why am I blanking on this name? The other guy that was there.
Reed?
We just said that.
We all just said his name, yeah.
I didn't hear a word out of my
Okay.
speakers. I was like, not Bruce. I always get there. Anyway, Reed was there and doing a little bit, mostly like extemp stuff. So anyway, that was when I was just a coach, and Paul was like a friend and a former student and was kind of in the environment. But you finished your first year, and the next year, Tristan, you joined the team. You're joining the team. It's all online, and you've done.
We all think Tristan's like 5'8".
Before. How tall are you?
Paul.
I just sorry, this is just I love them so much. I have to give some digs. I remember being convinced Tristan has the most tall energy of any person I've ever met over Zoom, and I was convinced she was like 5'7", 5'8", whatever. And Tristan like was so kind. She made me cookie dough, and like I had to go bring her like a camera or a microphone or something. I can't remember exactly what, but I had to do that. And so we met up, and I go to like her car, and she was in like your whatever, I forget, like, yeah, she's in her CRV, and I'm parked in my car like next to her. And because her car was like higher than mine, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm thinking she's tall. And then she steps out of the car, and she's 5'2", and I was just like, what? Like, and then we had never met in person, and we had talked every day for like 4 months at this point. But anyway, sorry, go ahead. You're going somewhere.
My similar story is that I thought Tristan was vegetarian. She just gave me vegetarian vibes.
I get that one.
I thought
Because she's a gatherer. She gathers things. Like you feel like Tristan's gonna like go on a walk with you, and there's gonna be berries at the end that she's found.
So tell me about what your experience was like, as far as like you mentioned, okay, like you enjoyed. We put a lot of effort into making being on the team fun online.
Virtual van rides and karaoke and
yeah, we went to the other teams in the area. We were like, here's everything we're doing online. We think you should do it too, and none of them did, and all their programs shut down. But what was the competitive side of it like? What was your when Paul was talking about how well you did? You looked a little bit skeptical. What's your like memory of what that felt like when you started?
Yeah, so actually, it's such a trip to think that we like never met in person for so long, like 4 months, and you just had no idea what I looked
you didn't
like.
meet Richa for like 6 months.
Yeah, because she was on.
Because she was locked in the house.
Like, yeah. Me and Brenna met pretty early.
when did we meet?
We went suit shopping.
We did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot about the
Yeah.
Bavard lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was the dynamic?
That's why I was worried
like?
when Tanya got sick. But
What was the dynamic like? Like you're joining this team, and then there is like Tanya, there's Brenna, and they are like the returners who have all of this experience, which I know to Brenna doesn't feel like it amounted to much at the time, but coming in not having that, it seems like they're miles ahead of you.
That's pretty much exactly how it felt. Brenna, when you were talking about how like you weren't that good that year, I just remember like coming into practice and just being terrified of you. Like you and Tom were just the scariest people in the world to me. I was like literally just crying and shaking.
And like every practice for Tristan, pretty much after the first tournament, it was Tristan and Richa versus Brenna and Tanya because they were the ones who were all dedicated. And so you like come into a team as a novice, and yeah, you have a really good first showing, but now you're debating like I would say, and like I'm not even gonna say I am right. Brenna and Tristan were already, I'm sorry, Brenna and Tanya were the best community college team in the country by a lot already that year. And so it's just like, welcome, Tristan. Like,
Terrifying. Like it was so scary, but I do feel very lucky to like have had that experience and to not just have to do like pointless practice rounds, like to actually be able to do rounds against people who were like just felt so much better than me. I think I don't know, it was just like such a privilege. And then also it like really, really helped me with like kind of like mindset stuff. Cause in my head, like Brenna and Tanya were like literally the scariest people in the world. Like they were just so intimidating and so good. And it really helped me going into other rounds with people who weren't them. Cause I was like, okay, you know, like how scary can they be? You know,
that's it's such a big thing, right? And that's the same reason why like when you two were, really starting to hit your peak, I was just like, I don't even know if it's worth their time to debate me much. Can Oregon come debate them? Like, can the best team in the country come debate them or something? Instead, shout out Alex, thanks for being there, buddy. You're good enough, coach. That's the champ coach for this year. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So what, Tristan, like when we started coaching you, and I mean, you all did multiple events, right? You didn't just do debate. I don't know if you had started doing interp yet at the end of your first year, Brenna.
No, I didn't do intern till the last semester of my last year.
Yeah, and then Tristan, you were really successful with like platform speeches and stuff like that. I remember.
Well, her second year she had a persuasive that was doing really good, and obviously like Firo it didn't convert or whatever. But I think her first year Tristan just rolled in and did like IPDA, LD, and Parli, like especially IPDA and Parli for the first half, and then by the end she's like, I guess I'll do LD if you need someone.
What I want to ask is from our perspective, it was very quick to notice like, okay, she's a killer. Like you're very nice and you're a very sweet person, and it's not like you're different in a debate round, but in a debate round there's just well, I mean, I think I know how I might try to describe it, but I wonder what your perspective on it is, right? Like there's a lot of things that you learned over the years and a lot of ways you improved, but as far as your debate like skills go, or just traits that you think are helpful, what do you think you started with that led us to think that you were just this monster?
I have no. I don't know. I think I just liked it. Like I think like you guys both created like a team environment that was just like really fun. And I just really liked you both, and I liked everybody else on the team, and everybody else was very competitive. And I think it was just probably just like being in that environment and just seeing all these people who were so good at what they did and just like so passionate and also just like so fun. I think that really, really like made me just want to be on the team. And I think like maybe just getting better like came along with that. And I think it was just probably inevitable when you're like surrounded by that kind of people.
Because I watch your thank yous at least once a week. In your thank yous before you won your first national championship,
I still haven't seen that round.
We'll watch it tonight.
The round's like unwatchable, but like yeah.
But that's not true. It's unwatchable halfway through the MO. Until then, it's very watchable.
Oh.
Okay, the audio is just like super bad. But anywho, even the thank yous are like if you don't crank it up. But bottom line, in your thank yous, you mentioned, and specifically Sasan, you mentioned where you talk about how like Sasan kind of taught you that like it's just fucking debate, dude. Like it's just a debate round. Like there's just all these other things that actually matter, and this doesn't really. And I felt like early on that was kind of what set you apart, because a lot of the new students, especially if they start out the way you did, where they're just bodying fools, they never end up being good because they take a loss eventually and they're just like, well, this is stupid. I'm not good at this anymore. It's not enough for me or whatever. But when you moved up to open pretty quickly, like you and Richard would lose debates, you'd still do pretty good at most of the tournaments, right? But you like I don't ever really remember you after one of these rounds being like genuinely upset about it. And the one superpower you have had compared to every other student I've done in my life, and I've told you this, is for some reason you just actually know if you won or lost like ahead of time, like almost 100% of the time. I feel like I remember you texting me like maybe the second your IPDA elim happened at FIRO your second year, and just be like, "Hey Paul, I'm sorry I lost," and I'm like, what do you mean you lost? And she's like, yeah, I just did this wrong. Definitely lost the round. They didn't invite it. And I'm like, you know what? Normally when people tell me this, I give them a whole like, no, it's fine. Like, you know, like me and Brenna had this whole conversation after NPDA finals or whatever. But I was like, the thing is though, Tristan, like, probably right. Like, if you think you lost, you probably did lose. And I just think that ability to not be affected by the wins and the loss, and to be so honest with yourself and like so good at self-evaluation, like reflexivity or whatever, and not take it personal when like even if you made a mistake or whatever, I've never seen you be like, oh man, gee willikers or whatever. Like when you lost rounds, you two would get like shit talking angry. Not well, Brenna would get actually angry, but Tristan was just like, shit talk angry. They suck, whatever. She wouldn't be that mean. But you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the vibe I got, at least from your initial kind of
Yeah,
abilities.
I mean, I think what I would bring it down to is that you didn't really seem to be afraid of like, what if I lose? And people can win a lot and still be terrified of what if I lose.
Brenna.
And
sorry, people. I meant people.
oh yeah, that was Brenna's thing constantly.
That's still Brenna's thing.
I know.
I promise.
Yeah.
And it's just like when you're so afraid of that happening, that occupies so much of your brain that things become a lot more complicated and complex and harder to. And I think part of it was that, you know, it wasn't that like, wow, like she picked up advantage structure in a week. Like it's impossible to learn something that quickly. I think it was just like you would learn something and then you'd be like, okay, so you want me to like try this? And we're like, yeah. And then you'd be like, okay, and then you'd go try it. And it's a really big battle for a lot of people.
I wonder how much of U2's success you ultimately attribute to the fact that you found each other. Because like Brenna and Tanya, clearly, I mean, based on the results and everything that you both have in your career, very good debaters, right? And like you were good when you were together, whatever. Firefly didn't go your way, but there's no reason why. I think if Tanya had stuck with Parli and you had been with her the whole time, you probably would have also done reasonably good at Nats, etc. But with that said, you, Brenna, and Tanya have like the same, I don't know how to say, anxieties. Like both of you after rounds, like, oh my god, I messed up. Oh my god, Paul, oh my god, like people, I can't show my face. I can't show my face. I can't show my face. Like whatever. Like you did essentially. And like Tristan is so not that. I just remember Tristan always be like, I'm nervy, but like she's kind of like, and like I wonder how much you two think that because you have like this sort of counterbalancing strengths and weaknesses in terms of like Brenna's like a work psycho with a lot of anxiety, and Tristan has like very little anxiety and like just kind of goes with the flow. And it's like you don't work. You obviously work very hard, Tristan, but like you're never like, you were never hitting me up and being like, hey, I know we just went to practice all day. Could you come work with me for another 2 hours on the speech? Could you just read lines to me? I'm like, okay, I guess. And then I'd be like, hey, I have to go to bed. I have a wife. She's pregnant and stuff or whatever. And Brenna's just like, hey, yeah, I'm doing another hour myself and then go to bed. Like, how much do you think your success, like, forget about how talented you both are and skilled you both are, the like disposition of you or like the character of you both, how much of that do you think has contributed to, the double natty or whatever?
I mean, can I just say, I don't know if my anxieties help Tristan. Like, I don't think they do, but like, I think that Tristan's like even keelness and like ability to when I freaking out after a round, like the ability for Tristan to she's not even like, no, it's okay, it's fine, it's okay. She just looks at me, she's like, and I'm like, oh, wait, sorry, my life has value outside of this activity. Wait, it's fine. It's totally okay. I'm not going to die. I think like that has like mattered so much to me and like made like, I don't know, like going through like the last season we had of losing a lot and then suddenly winning a lot, like being able to balance all of that. Like I couldn't have done it with someone who was like me or on my own.
Well, and you said like you don't know how your anxieties help Tristan, but I guess what I mean is like Tristan, again, is incredibly hardworking on her own and smart and just good at stuff and a killer. But I don't know if Tristan does go to every practice ever, do every practice round and every do-over and go to all the tournaments and whatever if you're not there. And like I don't want to make last year sound like it was a whole thing or whatever, but it's like, Tristan, because she has goals that aren't debate, has like internships and grades and all this other stuff that like basically meant last year she went to one tournament in the fall. And like obviously, Brenna, you hear about this stuff too, but like Tristan, debate's never been like number one, near as I can tell, in her life or whatever. And so I think if Tristan doesn't have a partner who's like, no, we need to do this, we have like whatever kind of thing, I think that maybe she's still very successful, but like, I mean, obviously it takes a lot to do what you folks did. Like, you get that, Tristan? How do you feel about that statement? Like, as far as the balancing or whatever?
Yeah, I don't think I would have competed this year or like last year if it weren't for Brenna. Like, I think just like she's just like a big motivating factor, and then it's also just like, I don't know, like this is my best friend.
Yeah.
Debate is just like another way for us to be together and hang out.
Go hang out, have sleepovers, and go hang out and go have
Go
fun.
fly around the country.
Go to different restaurants in Texas, go to restaurants in Portland. That's the only reason we go to tournaments. We want to go to restaurants in different states.
Same.
Yeah.
You guys are, it occurs to me that you two are the first two people we've interviewed who were community college competitors. And I think as we kind of wrap up talking about that phase of your debate careers, I'm just curious, like, how would you describe it to somebody who isn't familiar with it? What stands out to you as something you valued about it? And just kind of, yeah, how you look back on it.
It's hard. There are definitely a lot of like, I don't know, there's definitely a lot of struggles that we had like within community college spaces, like when it came to debate and speech, and I think it's like a lot more rigid of a space than like maybe the 4-year circuit in a lot of ways, and I think that's difficult. But I think like, I don't know. I think there's also just like so many resources that come with like being a part of a community college team, and like we're kind of experiencing kind of like the opposite, or like like going to a school that doesn't have a ton of institutional support, and so I think that's been like a big adjustment.
Can you speak a little on what sorts of support come to mind?
Yeah, like having full-time staff, or like having people who get paid to coach debate, or or paid to go to tournaments with you. Like, I think being at Berkeley, it's like a lot of reliance on just like the kindness of others, which has been so amazing. Like, we're like just so deeply grateful for it. There's so many people this year who stepped up for us, and we're like, okay, we're gonna get off work and we're gonna drive to Berkeley and we're gonna coach you, and also we're gonna fly to Texas with you and take you to this tournament and drive you around at 2 a.m. if you're June. And yeah, we've been very much reliant on like the kindness and the support of others, which has been beautiful, but it's also just like, you don't want to be like that burden on somebody else, and that's a really hard thing to ask.
I think their thing's a little bit atypical too, in that like they were at DVC and arguably like the best time ever to be a debater at DVC, because since everything was online, it didn't cost us anything to take them to as many tournaments as they want. There were no travel concerns. And then secondarily, because everything was online, we just went to a bunch of tournaments that we have never gone to since. And like, it's difficult even now with budgets and with me in like a more full-time position or whatever as like co-director to do. Like, we were just like, cool, we're doing San Diego, we're doing Concordia, we're doing Mile High if we can. Like, whatever tournament we wanted to go to, we could, and it cost basically nothing. Whereas now, like, I mean, you folks, I've heard you talk about it and how much Alex has done for you, but it's just like, I guess what, just as a follow-up on Sasan's thing, like, everyone in Parli to a certain degree, and maybe it's less true now because Parli's smaller and whatever, but there was very much a mystique to Berkeley, right? Because everyone's like, how is it possible? How is it possible that there's this one team that every single year, at least one, if not two of the top 3 best teams in the country are from this school? And you start, thinking about like, is there some secret drill they have? Do they do this much practice? But from talking to you two, it doesn't necessarily similar. So what is that like? Like, what is the Berkeley experience compared to the DVC experience, or what in your mind? I don't know, Brenna, you just
Huh?
Do you have thoughts, Brenna? Just because obviously you were at DVC longer, like, and you did in person DVC,
Yeah.
whereas Tristan
Oh,
didn't
for
do it in
sure.
person. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that at DVC, along with things being more structured, there's also a sense of obligation because um I think that's just the nature of, hearing all the time that like the goal is we win sweeps at state, we win sweeps at Nats, right? So like I'm doing this not just for me, but I have an obligation to meet the expectations of my teammates and of my coaches, which I assume is not unique to DVC or community colleges, but speech teams or like teams that are going to tournaments like that. And so I think that and you do have other people kind of driving you as well, like coaches being like, we have practice at this time, this time, this time. You miss a practice. Hey, why weren't you there last week? Like stuff like that. At Berkeley, like the secret sauce is that every single person on that team wants so desperately to do debate. They love it. They are going to practice. They're staying up all night. Do like that shit that I was doing, like back in DVC when I was calling you and be like, hey, let's practice, let's practice, practice. That's what these kids are doing, like every day, every tournament, because they have no motivation to be there. In fact, just like Sasan said that coaching DVC came at a cost, competing for PDAB, there may be a cost associated there, but no, yeah, I think you need to have that intrinsic motivation to keep going. I think that it's like the same for the coaches. Like the coaches aren't here for any like financial or like resume incentive. They're there because they love it and they want to like give back. And so yeah, I think that PDAB is like run on people that owe a lot to debate and like feel like debate in itself gives them a lot.
How do you think your debate careers would have been different if you hadn't started at the community college level? And I don't just mean within Parli, but also having done like full service. We pay a lot of lip service to like the value of cross training and doing speech and debate and all of these things. But and if you want to do multiple events, then great, right? But let's say all you cared about was Parli. Like, do you think it was efficient and valuable practice, or just like if you for whatever reason had the ability to just start at Berkeley, you would have gotten there faster just being at Berkeley?
I think
You can give an honest answer.
yeah, no, I mean personally, like I think my regrets in terms of what I did at debate come from like eligibility stuff because I never like if I had a choice, if eligibility wasn't a question, I'd always choose like CC debate over high school debate. And I think that I also would always choose specifically competing at DVC and then going to Berkeley because I think that there was stuff I learned at Berkeley that I could not have possibly learned at DVC or at any other team. But I think that like that foundation that was laid for personally for me, like it was really, really valuable.
What do you think that foundation was?
Um, well, I mean, like, I think that like well, Sasan, I really valued having you as my coach, like my very first year. And I think I said this many times, like I don't think I would still have competed for as long as I did if you weren't my coach in the beginning. Cause like again, you really instill that like, good luck, have fun mentality, like it's not the end of the world if you lose. These are the bare bones basics things that you need to know. If you know them well, then it'll take you far, right? Like button matters so much. So many kids in open these days, they don't even know button, man.
I judged high school LD. It's not like the techiest. In fact, it's probably the least techie national championship. But I judged high school LD nationals, and like people weren't reading defense against each other's cases. Like I was like, I got a video on these button responses.
I'm at a place now where I've taught my argumentation debate class like 12, 13 times. So we're talking like close to 400 students. And every single one of these kids who's never going to compete in a tournament has had to learn button. And there's just like an entire lecture on it. And I've taught it in front of other professors who've like evaluated me. And they've been like, "Where did you get this from?" And I'm like, there's this debate document.
That guy you wouldn't hire invented it.
but sorry, you Brenna, you were saying.
Well, so I think what's interesting about what you're saying, Brenna, and Tristan, you said the same thing earlier. What's from my perspective, when I'm on the other side of it, giving that like good luck, have fun talk, what's funny is the pushback you get is people being like, but no, I want to be really good at this. Like I want to be really successful. And people sort of have to be willing to take it on faith that like that is how you get very good at it. That like no amount of you working at this activity is going to get you there if you don't like it.
I want to kind of ask a follow on to that, I think, for Brenna and Tristan. I recently had a student, I'm not going to say who, send me like a text message. And basically, it amounted to them being like, hey, I just want to let you know that like your enthusiasm about debate and about working on debate is like the thing that actually has mattered to me the most since I've like gotten out of debate and like the activity and stuff. And like all the actual debate stuff was cool, and like I thought you knew a lot about that, obviously, but like really the thing that's helped me post DVC is just that you cared so much, and that I now care about other things, or like just understand that idea. And I guess what I want to ask is like, it's always weird when you have your coaches here and you ask the question about the coaches, but like how much of your experience at DVC, or what you took from DVC and who you are as competitors, do you think has to do with, well, no, we just had coaches who actually did know stuff about debate, and that's an advantage that maybe some other CC people don't have, versus there's just like something about who they are as people or whatever, like a personality quirk or mental illness, whatever you want to call it, that has informed you as like, I don't want to say young people, but like, you're college students or whatever. Like, do you get what I'm saying in that sense? Is that?
I think what the question's really getting at is like, let's say Paul is Paul, but he doesn't know much about how to answer topicality, right? Like, we have people watch who are coaches. Like, to what degree do you think you could have had the same experience through the support and enthusiasm without maybe the like technical know-how? Like,
Okay, so me and Alex were talking about this like yesterday. There's a difference between coaching and teaching, and you can be a really good teacher, as in a shit ton about everything and the best way to do it. But if you're not a good coach, that means that maybe you can't properly pass that information down. You can be a good coach without being a good teacher. Like, you can instill that love and passion and guidance into people, but maybe not have the most like skill. I think maybe later in your career, teaching becomes very important, being taught. And I think early in your career, like coaching is absolutely, or even mentorship, if you will, is like the most important. Does that kind of?
No, that's a perfect answer. You guys have won enough speaker awards that you can't just be like, I don't know how to put it into words. Okay, so we've talked about community college. You've sang my praises plenty. I appreciate it. I need all the rep I can get. But I didn't really follow your guys's. I mean, I followed like, hey, Tristan and Brenna like won this thing, or
He
that
followed
thing,
what
right?
I told him weekly.
But I wasn't watching your
year?
debates.
Last year.
So we did
Yeah.
win.
Yeah, we
No, I
did.
know. No, but I don't know what you were saying in the rounds. I know it was fast. So
there's things that win, good arguments.
well, that's what I want to talk about, right? Because people watch this channel and they want to learn about debate. So talk to me about that. Because when the last year you two were on my team, Paul was also coaching. I knew it was going to be my last year, so I was trying to give as much reign over to Paul as possible. And there was a lot of question of like, should we let Brenna and Tristan go to this tournament? Should we let them go to that tournament? And
Bro, I was out here just having to have so many meetings because of you two. I just want to be clear. Like,
dude,
I had a lot of
I,
meetings.
I played intermediary a lot because it was kind of like when Rob and Blake, when they think that they have to like say no to one of the other coaches, they will just have a meeting without them. So that's why, like, for the Tanya conversation, I wasn't there because they knew I would be like, no, Tanya should, keep doing debate. And for the conversation with you guys, Paul wasn't there because they're like, he's not like a objective voice, right? And the big concern was, all right, we send them to these 4-year circuit tournaments and they work with Paul and they get really good at debating fast and doing critiques and theory and that stuff, but that stuff doesn't win at state and nationals. And it took a lot of like, we had to have a lot of conversations with you of like, okay, like you have to be able to switch back to community college style debate, which, as you said, Tristan, is a lot I guess I'll throw the word conservative in, right? Like it's not politically conservative really, but it is sort of like traditionalist, I guess. So then you go off and all of a sudden there's no rules. You could argue whatever you want. You don't even have like authority figures who are like coaches and who are the ones dictating whether or not, because it's a student run team, right? So how did the arguments change? How did the style change? What did you start doing? My understanding is it got faster. Tell me more.
No, no, we didn't actually. I think that both of us were probably fastest when we were doing LD at DVC. We didn't really feel a need to get faster.
Okay, so tell me more about how the style and approach changed, if at all.
I think we became a little bit more independent. I don't know if Brennan, you want to talk about that, but I think that was like a big change, not in like style, but just like in just like general, like how we approached like competing and like how we navigated like the PDAB environment.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that like, at least for me, whenever I was like at tournaments or debating or in practice, I always felt like, like a sense of lacking, that there was something like outside of me that I needed to be able to be successful, i.e. certain coaching, certain files, things like that. And so to have those things kind of like taken away and still be able to have wins and losses, it was a really good learning experience that I think it was good to be put in situations when like, I don't know, what do you call it? Training wheels are taken off, That's
right,
what it.
But how have your actual rounds changed? How are you reading different kinds of arguments? Are you
I mean, compared to like what we were doing at like NCFA rounds or what we were doing at like state and nats?
Well, different than state.
Well, I mean, because like their whole last year, like they were just cap hacks, right? They just read cap and they read cap and they read cap and they read cap. No. When you were on my team, my last year on the team, where where like you just read cap, and if you didn't go against Oregon, you won, like essentially for a year.
Yeah. So like, what's your approach, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so funny enough, like we joined PDAB and we like never read a K like ever. Like maybe twice our whole year we did it. We just.
What would you read?
We read a lot of case and theory.
And you were winning on. I think if I'm not wrong, you won. Like when you won the big show, you won on case and theory.
We won on case and theory. Yeah. Both times. I think that honestly, in our neg rounds, I feel like we got to the point where maybe 75% of the blocks were theory collapses, and we were just straight up on the AF every time.
What the when you're talking about theory, this is against what, like KAFs or?
Yeah, like long form, but sometimes just straight up T, like just like mostly just T variations of T.
Why do you think you've been successful with that? So like, let me put that into perspective. We're using a lot of shorthand here, and people might not be familiar with it, but also people might not really have the perspective. So the most terrifying thing in debate from the moment people find out it exists is the critique. And I've been teaching for a long time, and it's really hard to keep, especially in the age of like internet, being like debate being so present on the internet. I guess we're not helping. People just find out this like critique thing exists very early on, and they just panic because they know they can lose. They don't understand it, and they don't know what they're supposed to do. And when they start learning about it, you know, I get a lot of kids coming up to me and they're like, okay, so if I say this, like, can I say this and then that beats the K? And you're like, no, like in theory, that is a good answer. But the thing with K teams, especially KAF teams, is that they're debating the same thing every round. If you're debating the topic in Parli, you're debating different stuff all the time. But as a KAF team, you're getting reps over and over again with the same thing. So it's not just like, well, what do I say? Because they've probably heard that response a million times. So for you to be winning on long form theory, you're not only just reading theory, you're reading arguments that hypothetically the other side is specifically prepared for or thought they had specifically prepared for. So
Well,
what do
Sasan,
you think?
I want to tap in there real quick because you mentioned not being super familiar with what they did this year. Something I do want to note from like my discussions with them and seeing the rounds, they are definitely not a team that is like, here's 7 minutes of long form or 6 minutes of long form. They're like, here's 4 minutes of long form and then
Sure.
4 minutes of like very detailed responses to the K proper. Which
So,
I guess
I mean,
I just
how
want to
would
make sure I
you-
mentioned that, like, from
Well,
that
so
perspective.
that's my question, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
How explaining to somebody who is maybe not as familiar with the arguments you're reading, how would you describe your strategy and like position against KAF teams?
I don't know. I feel like I feel like I just have to say this because it's like really inform my perspective. And it seems obvious now that I think about it, but I didn't realize it. And I think a lot of people probably don't realize it. Like everyone's like, oh, chaos are so busted. And like everything that I'm about to say, they prepared for. But Amanda Mescal, like one time after practice, she was like, yeah, chaos would be unfair if they didn't give you access to the most busted argument in parliamentary debate, long form framework. Because as much as chaos are prep the fuck out on everything you're about to say, you have long form framework. You're prep the fuck out on everything that they're gonna say. And so like then that sort of like prep out doesn't or like infinite prep time doesn't matter because it's equal on both sides. And then it just comes down to like how the round breaks down.
So this gets to what I wanted to ask. That's, I think directly to, I know how you used to be when you thought someone was going to read a K or whatever. Have you reached a point now where you're like, if I can pick what the 1AC is going to be and I get to be the negative, I want them to read a K off as opposed to going straight up? Like, do you feel more confident now on, we're just going to read long form? Like, we don't give a shit. Like, we don't care what you read. Versus, like, if you're going against a team that was really good, whatever, whoever they are, whether it's UT Tyler or someone else, would you prefer these days that they read a KF or prefer that they're straight up?
I think it would be more fun if people read K's for us, because then we get to, I don't know, like
we're straight up because
Yeah.
I think straight up debates are because then you don't have like infinite prep versus infinite prep.
Yeah, and also that's just something we didn't get to see hardly at all this year. Like everybody was just reading their K off in front of us. And so it's just like maybe I don't know, just like for fun, like it would be nice to hear people read case. But
hey, you're gonna hate this question.
Okay.
Okay, both of you are gonna hate this question, but I do need you to answer it and be honest and not be like nice. Okay? You two, objectively this year at the end of the year, are the two best debaters in the country. Like anyone who says otherwise, you're a fucking idiot. There's just no way. Like I'm gonna be real. Like if a team wins both national championships and is top two speakers, like at one of them, and then whatever, the other one was like first and fourth. The bottom line is there's just no measurement other than, well, during the regular season how they do that you weren't, by the end of the year, the best teams in the country. Is there a part of debate, whether it's case debate, long form, your own K, whatever, where you two genuinely think to yourself, we are the best in the country at this, and this is what we want to debate if we get the chance. Like, if you're debating to save someone's life or something, what is it that makes you two, as people who, have this background of, like, you did speech and shit, and, like, obviously now you're at Berkeley, and, like, you tried to write a K or two, maybe you read it once or twice, but, like, what is it that is making you, even if it's just vibes or something, even if it's just speaking, what is it that you actually think? Because you didn't barely win nationals. Like, you went undefeated at NPDA, and then you lost only to your teammate in, like, a ridiculous round where there was, like, 15 off or whatever at NPTE. That is dominance. What is the factor for that? Are you the most well-rounded? Are you the best at something? What is that attributable to?
Vibes matter.
Vibes matter. Yeah.
Do you think you have the best vibes in the country?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's okay. Just making sure we're...
Let me think.
If you were, like, if there was a debate video game and you were characters and you had to pick your stats,
Yeah.
like, what do you think your best stats are?
Case, just because hot take.
You like saying whoops that way?
Yeah, case because no one knows how uniqueness works anymore. I feel like, sorry, you go ahead.
Like anything, like, I don't know, like sciencey, I feel like we always really loved, or like, I don't know, something in like some niche that we like learned about in class, maybe.
Yeah,
just like
Turkish politics.
Turkish politics.
Yeah. Oh, don't comment on this, Alex. But anything.
I was about to. Go ahead.
Hydroponics or nuclear,
Hydroponics,
vertical farming.
But because you mentioned Alex, and like when we're talking about it, like obviously me and Sasan, we're your coaches, but realistically, if you ask me, like Alex was like kind of your main sounding board this year, both emotionally and content wise, and all this stuff. And so, like, bottom line, how did having Alex be your new like go-to and whatnot, did that change your prep strategy at all, or change your approach in any significant way, or was he like? Because I know I've seen Alex like prep stuff, and like I mean, he knows a shit ton, especially about sciencey stuff. So like. What's Alex's influence on the end product for you this year? Oh
my God. I think just seeing the way he writes diss ads for me, like literally it's just like for rounds I wasn't in, I don't know. Does Alex want to be on camera? No? Does Alex want to be on camera?
Well, I don't get a choice, clearly.
Yeah. So yeah, we can move it back. So no, just like he literally just like I just realized that warrants don't matter. No, I'm kidding. But he just like walks around a room and he's like, A's uniqueness. First, really long sciencey thing that sounds true. The ASA point. This happened 2 years ago on the 5th of September in Libya. And like the visa point. And he's just like, he just goes and he goes and then like I remember this specific round. It was a mile high round that I wasn't in. He's prepping Holden and Arjun. And then he just says at some point, and then he'll be like, okay, now Brenna, you backfill them with warrants. Because he just constructs a whole diss ad, like just pacing around the room, like just like literally just like, or like and then retroactively it's like, okay, now you find warrants. Because I think for me, like I worry so much on like the quality of an quality of something, or like the truth value of it. But like
you go to imright.com, bro. That's the whole secret. You go to imright.com.
Nietzsche said that truth is a bunch of errors that correlate with each other.
No, but I think it's definitely like whatever you're writing, it's the argument comes first, truth comes second.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. Always. I don't care if it's LDE. Like,
it's not even that the truth doesn't matter, right? It's that like whether the argument is good depends a lot more on factors that are outside of whether it's true. Like it has to be good and it has to be important, and like just what the impacts are and what the implication that has on the debate round. Like first you have to think of like what the best possible argument would be if it was true, and then you have to be like, can I show that that's plausible? And then you kind of work your way down, I think.
Dude, there's such a big difference, and Alex is definitely this way, but like there's such a big difference between a team that really has thought about their strategy and one team that has not. Because there's been a lot of great teams that were just reading fairly simple generics, but were really good at debate. But what I loved about judging Alex and Gabe back in the day was just like, I'm like listening to this and I'm like, this C sub point under their 6th uniqueness argument clearly answers these 5 counter plans that the other team might read or whatever. And like you just can't if you don't have like a genius like that in your prep room, like it's just different. And like you all obviously like for ignoring Alex, like you folks had like maybe the most insane prep room I've ever even heard of this year.
Yeah.
And like you two have every time I've talked to you, you've been so cool about being like, no, dude, like we're just lucky. Like we have like the Amanda Miskill difference and the June difference, like Lila difference. Like
Like the
Uh,
smartest people we've ever met.
Yeah.
It's crazy being in a prep room with all of them.
Like, so seeing the way their brains work is actually insane. Like, they just, maybe this is a key to being good at debate. They all know so much, like so much. They know more than like your average professor at Berkeley.
I legitimately think Lila is like the smartest person I've ever met in my life. Like I haven't spent as much time talking to those other people. Like I've just never heard Lila explain anything in a debate or outside of a debate where I wasn't like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Just the other day I was watching that NPTE video Lila made on like the Cap K, and I'm like, I don't even know why.
Well, I was like, I need to.
It's just like referencing like every specific Marxist, Leninist, Maoist movement and leader, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah.
I got some rapid fire questions for you. This is all like your great debate minds, so I want your great debate opinions. Don't hesitate, just give me an answer. If you're debating case and you can link into any impacts, what are you most confident in? What are you like most happy to run? What do you think your best impacts are? Like, are you trying to go for like nuclear scenarios, environmental scenarios, poverty? Like, what do you think is your like
Environment.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. And then any kind of like, yeah, I don't know, like, I feel like because, well, when we were doing LD, we read the U visa app, and there was like some really amazing framework about like intimate partner violence. And I think that was also something that if we got to talk about, like, I don't know, that was just like an impact that mattered to us a
Yeah.
lot. And I feel like, yeah, I don't know. It was like,
Yeah.
that-
Just like those proximal impacts too. Like, I think that those don't come up as much in round, but I do think that like, yeah.
Well, I'm sure that that's got a lot. Real quick, just so I know you got rapid fire some, but like, as the vibe team, as the Speaks team, like you two have always been amazing, like Speaks competitors. Even when you were at DVC, you're great at Speaks. When you're the Speaks team and you get to talk about like IPV or like something that really needs a story told, that like not just nuclear war causes extinction, like it's hard to beat that with your generic like everything will cause nuclear war. Go ahead, this. I'm sorry. Just
Yeah, no. These are great answers. I love the detail. Okay. What of the critiques that you've like debated against, what do you think has been the most like challenging for you to like argue like on the actual literature of? Like, what was that? Could be either because you think like it's just like a hard K to beat in terms of like just good links and impacts, or maybe because you don't know what the fuck they're saying when they're talking about this.
I don't know. I don't read, and I think that's that's been a pretty like big inhibiting factor when it comes to answering most case. Yeah.
Honestly, it's
the
honestly
good news is fairness comes first, though. So like,
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
MLM.
Okay.
I mean, we never debated that in an actual round, but obviously we debated that a lot in practice. And like, it's Lila, so that shit is deep.
Yeah.
Okay, if you were to is it fair to say that you think Parli, if you could be doing any format of debate, it would be Parli?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't try policy, but yeah.
Okay. What do you
this is the
think-
year to do it, by the way.
Why?
Oh, really?
It's the same topic as LD.
Wait, what's
the topic?
LD topic?
The LD topic is like nuclear disarmament, and the policy topic is like the same. Like there's like 3 options, and they're all nuclear disarmament type stuff, no first use, etc. In fact, this weekend is like the first policy tournament, and every single one of the teams that finished in quarters or higher last year that is still debating is reading the same half, which is no first use.
Wild.
Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, guys.
Did you guys see Oppenheimer?
Yes,
No.
I did not. Yes, I saw it for the
It was
first
fine.
time.
What'd you think, Tristan?
Boring. No
Yeah, it
bad.
was a little.
So
90 minutes.
What?
so
Go
go ahead, son. Okay, no, I'm
Oh,
on it.
I
I'm
had
stealing
more
it.
rapid
It's
fire
mine.
questions. I didn't know if you were
You
trying
went
to
to
pull it back
Oppenheimer,
from-
bro. We're off the rapid fire. You ran out of rapid fire questions
I know.
2
Okay,
questions
okay.
ago.
I got a couple more questions for you. If you were to like teach your first year debate selves like 1 hour of anything, what would you teach yourself for that hour?
Uniqueness.
Yeah.
You said earlier that you don't think people like know how to talk about uniqueness anymore. Why do you think that is?
They do. They just don't think it's important, I guess, or something.
They
Like,
don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like you we've talked about this a lot and like controlling the direction of uniqueness and like all this stuff, but it's just like because debate has moved to this, at least Parli debate has moved very much to this like cult of the impact, like it's all just about this impact shit. Because there's so many Ks, because so many people read things like MG theory that is dying off now. Like people just aren't really worried about the cases they write because I think a lot of the time they just don't think they're gonna have to go for them. Like I think they expect people are gonna be condo. I think they expect people are gonna be not topical or whatever. And so they're like, what does the disad even matter? We just need a disad. And it's weird because even teams that like traditionally have been very sort of case minded don't seem to take that stuff very seriously at all these days.
I don't know, because I don't think that when a team, unless you're like, I don't know, maybe that one SDSU team, like if you're reading case, like I think that I'm not sure that people are in the mindset that they're not going to go for it. And so that's why they don't care. I think that they don't know better.
Do you notice? So, speaking of SDSU, I can't remember if I told you about this. Last year, I judged an SDSU round at Fall Champs, and they had this disad, right? Because it was about like AI and policing, everyone's favorite. And their disad was like, AI in policing will be racist because the cops are racist, and the people who program the AI are the cops, and so bad data, bad output, whatever. And then they read an unconditional counterplan that was instead we should give the racist cops $20 billion. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, this is just like actually a fundamental misunderstanding of what uniqueness is and like how debate works. Because like, why did you need a counterplan if it was true that cops and AI were racist? And certainly, why is that the counterplan you've read? And like, I've told this to my current batch of students a lot right now, but I'm like, okay, I'm trying to not go on a tangent here. I believe that there's a lot of debates, I would say the majority of debates you have outside of the very, very highest level that you can almost win by just mentioning things your opponent mentioned in their own case or whatever. Like, how much of the uniqueness stuff that you folks are talking about and the case stuff that you're talking about do you think is like you write better arguments than them versus their arguments are so bad you just don't have that high of a threshold to deal with them? Like that round you had in SEMS or whatever, dude. Like, I mean, that's like, not to be mean or whatever, but like you're just right. Like, and when we were watching this stream, we were like, what?
Yeah, we got the recording.
Oh, for
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was absolutely an unforced error. Like, it's not like, oh my god, we're case gods. Like we like this is a really well constructed case that we made them fuck up on. Like, unforced errors. Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Do you think debaters are getting worse?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Because Parli's dying. There's less
Why do you
comments.
think that is?
Which brings me to what I wanted to talk about. Why is that?
It sounds like there's a plethora of reasons. Like COVID was bad for a lot of reasons.
Parli was dying before COVID.
It was, I don't know.
It was.
We were talking about it on this YouTube channel before COVID.
I think COVID mattered a lot because as far as I remember I was talking to Amanda about this, about how like things were picking up and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
Um
Okay, well, what else? I mean, that's COVID. Like,
what else?
how
Oh,
would COVID make people worse at debate? You know?
Let's rephrase the question. What could be done now, or what aren't we doing now
Yeah.
that you think could address the problem in some way? And obviously, no one's asking you to literally save Parli, but what do you see now? Because we can't do anything about COVID, right? Like we can't go back and undo COVID. We're not probably going to be able to massively increase funding for teams. But like, do you think there are things outside of funding that are driving factors in the deterioration of Parli? Do you think we're past the point of no return, etc.?
I don't know. Maybe just like community type stuff, like
Yeah.
being back in person, like getting to see other teams is good, but I feel like we've kind of like, I don't know, I feel like there's not like a huge social element, at least at none of the tournaments we went to in the past year.
yeah.
I don't know.
The NPTE board's been talking about this a lot. How there's just no hangs anymore.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's just because like people are staying at different hotels or they're just like hanging out with their own teams, but I feel like that's probably a pretty big factor. Is you don't have those people where you're just like, I mean, we obviously we have them. I think like, you know, like you don't have those people where, you know, you're going out of your way and you want to travel and you want to see like friends and stuff, and like there's definitely a couple of them, but I think it's like probably less. I don't know, just maybe just yeah, less like social interaction.
As someone who's on the board of one of the national tournaments now and like has to make decisions around stuff, and who's like, really the only thing we're interested in is like, how do we try and either make Parli grow again, slow down the fall, what kind of thing? Do you think there are even things that like organizations like that can really meaningfully do, or do you think it's like kind of beyond the control of coaches and debaters and that kind of stuff? Like we're all just sort of victims to whatever the admins let us do, or
I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like we can't say that because we do come from a very successful and we had, I think, the largest team last year as well. So I don't think that we're, at the mercy of the admins. I don't know. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know. I think it's just, I don't know if there's too much more you can be doing other than just like, you know, providing a space for like these tournaments to happen and people to interact with debate.
do you two this is so self-serving, do you two think Parli's cool?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like, because like this sounds so insane, but like this is like actually like a hard thing I've been trying to enforce on the NPTE board, where I basically told them like pretty early on, I'm like, look, as long as I'm on this board, anytime we have the choice between two equally equitable, fair, accessible options, whatever, those considerations that obviously come first, we must choose whichever option is cooler.
Yeah.
Because to me, I really do think that a big problem we have in Parli and is that it's just not as cool as it used to be. Like and I don't want this to be like besmirching of the debaters, but like most of the debaters aren't as cool. There's significantly less swag to debaters, whether that's because it's become like more tactical. Because like even like I want to be clear, because like Alex would definitely get this, but like Sean McKean, like whether he was the best debater or even like a top 10 debater in the country, people just knew who he was and thought he debated in a cool way, and he could go up against the Washburn BKs of the world and beat them, even though they were ostensibly the best team in the country or whatever. And like he was just funny. Like him and Ali would just do funny shit and were good at debate and were well liked by other people. And there were a number of teams like this or whatever. And like it just seems like these days there's a lot of nerds and shy people, and like there's not a lot of friends being made. There's not a lot of like, I want to be that person someday, which used to be a huge thing, dude. We used to watch those videos. I mean, you've talked about this, Brenna, but like you were obsessed with watching videos or recordings or reading other people's cases and all of this kind of stuff. And that's why 10 minutes of your thank yous are just like, I definitely knew about you before you knew about me. Senpai, please. Whatever. But like and ignore, like, obviously I don't want to put it all on the competitors, but like the tournaments too. The tournament structures are boring and they're always the same thing. And like if there's food, maybe there's some food, who knows? And the schedules don't change. Like there's no karaoke, there's no coaches debating each other. There's no like it just these are things that used to exist. And like on our team, when you were on the team, like even though it was on Zoom, like bro, how much fun were we having between rounds? And when we did get to travel, how much fun we were having, bro, and watching movies and Tristan taking naps at Fire Up High while everyone else is doing stuff, whatever, right? Like there's and I sorry, and I don't know this is rambling now, but like at your Fire Up High, that was a thing, and that is one weird thing where community college debate is not high level and is super conservative and tells kids they can't say this and that in this specific way and you must dress this way, and people hang out and make paper boats and put them in the hotel water fixture and want to go get golf carts or whatever and drive around and get cookies and shit. And that is just not a thing on the national circuit at all, as far as I'm aware. Like, I know you folks knew Rice a little bit, but like, what's going on with the fun? Do you think that's missing? Do you think that matters? Or I just rambling?
We will mandating fun.
Yeah.
So I'm in an interesting position right now. So New York, it's forensic scene, the Big Apple. You've seen a regular apple. Wait until the forensic scene. There's a couple high schools that are really, really, really good, but they're basically good because they can travel anywhere and they can go to any tournament they want to anywhere. But the overall like league is not doing well, and the level of competition is really low. There's also a lot of people who are in New York who have immense debate talent because it's just a sick place to be, so people move here, right? But there is this tension. It's exactly the NPDA FIRO tension, right? Where NPDA feels that the community college people are too constraining and too traditionalist, and that the rules don't make sense, and you're being I don't know, way too conservative. And on the other hand, the forensics, to the degree that it still exists in New York, has survived the collapse of the entire after school system in New York, right? It's not that competitive, but it still exists, and it's had the same leadership, and it's been around for decades. And one of the things that I have to navigate now is talking to both of these parties as we kind of decide what our nonprofit is and what we do and kind of where we land. And I don't really want to pick a side, but I think part of it is the difficulty of having that dialogue between like the schools that want to read Ks and the schools that want to make boats in the water. And in theory, those things aren't in conflict with each other, but in practice, there seems to be this sort of irreconcilability. That's not a word. And what do you think accounts for that? And how would you, as people who've been on both sides of this, have that conversation, start that dialogue?
I mean, from what I've heard from like Alex and like Paul and stuff, like it's not that NPDA's always been full of nerds. I mean, like maybe it has, but like you did have that combination. Like back in the day, it seemed like Parli was technically better and also more social. So I think that it's just, I think that we're all like those like babies that were born in the pandemic, didn't go to preschool, and then you go to a grocery store for the first time, you don't know what to do when like the cashier looks at you, right? Like we just came out of the pandemic, now we're finally at in-person tournaments again, and people don't know what to do with themselves, and people don't know to like how to like be chill and have fun. Like we need more, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I think. Go ahead, sir.
No, sorry, Tristan. Like, yeah, what are your thoughts on, like, yeah, there's the social aspects, but like, it seems like there's two halves of forensics that just don't want to be in the room with each other, and it's small enough at this point that we have to figure that out, or the whole thing dies out. You know, what's your take on that?
I have no idea. Yeah, because I guess we have been on both sides, but I think like I don't know. I've never felt like that division super strongly because when we were at community college, you know, like we really wanted to be like 4 years and like do like the more technical stuff. And I think like also when we came to Berkeley, it's just like we did have like a desire to kind of go back to the basics in some ways. And like there was like, I don't know, like a lot of nostalgia for being at community college. And so for me and like my experience and for Brenna too, I assume it's just like I don't know, like I don't feel that division super strongly, and so it's like kind of hard to have a perspective like how to bridge it because like in my head like community college did not feel super different than like 4 year debate.
Can you speak to, in this moment, my community college students who have to, like, obviously I'm trying to make them as good as possible. Like for me, especially at this point, look, there's no more brakes on the train. Like Hassan's not here to tell me I can't teach the K. Blake's not here to tell me you're going too fast or whatever. I don't have to have petitions and shit prepared. Rob's just letting me run the debate show. Doesn't ask a single question about it, right? What would you tell my kids who every single day between now and March 13th only care about being like you two and being, you know, obviously they're not going to win the national championship this year or anything, but like being good and then next year transferring and going somewhere and trying to win the national championship maybe or whatever, right? Who are going to spend every single day doing that. That's what the practices are primarily going to be. And then they're going to go to state and they have to not do that. And the reason I obviously want to ask, because we haven't mentioned this at all, because whatever, it seems superfluous when you're two-time national champions, but like Tristan, her first year and second year at state, which is very conservative again, was the top competitor overall. And also that first year was the only person still to this day who has ever won gold in all three styles of debate. And then Brenna, her second year, won the Bavaro Tabor, which is the top speaker at that tournament. And so like obviously you two, not like maybe it's just because you're charming and talented and hardworking and all this stuff, but like what do you tell those kids who have both goals? Like my kids, all of them told me, I asked them pretty much in a survey, I'm like, what are your goals for this year? And they're like, we want to win gold at state and fire or whatever, you know, because we didn't last year. But we also want to break it NPDA or NPTE if we get the chance to go, or a mile high or whatever it might be. Like, what do you tell those people about how to do both? Or like, is it even possible really in your mind to do both at once? Or just what are your thoughts for community college students? Because that definitely those are people. I know my kids will watch this at a minimum. I don't know who else will, but I know my kids will. What would you tell them?
Get comfortable with losing, like a lot. I don't know.
Did you? Can I just because you definitely both of you 100% lost debates that you won because you were in front of judges who didn't understand debate.
I mean,
Was that
lost too? Like, but I think that was
no, sure. But but I guess my question is, how do you handle that? Because for a lot of people, that's like the worst thing is knowing like I know we waxed these kids, we didn't outspread them. Like for instance, you lost that round on T where the resolution said win in conflict, and the judge was like, no, that means actually when you're in the middle of a war. This not like prioritize these two things very like you lost on T to that or something. And like clearly you didn't actually. So like how do you take that loss?
You just have to find something in there that you can change. Like I think like to I don't know, like you have to like recognize like yeah, this was probably just a stupid decision, but I think like I think the problem that I see in a lot of like teams these days is like they can't find even one thing that they could do differently, and it's like well, if it wasn't clear to the judge that like in conflict like does not mean just in conflict, like what did we do wrong, you know? Like obviously like that seems like it should be super easy to clear up. And
how do you navigate judges now? Like it's RFD time, whether they tell you they win, like are you two really like I assume you're listening, but like are you really listening? Or like do you have a framework in your mind of like there's certain judges we listen to and certain judges we don't listen to? Like how serious are you taking RFD at this point?
I think listen to everyone very closely because the circuit is so small. Like, I'm trying really hard not to say names right now, but you know, when you get certain judge in the back, maybe I didn't want to listen to their RFDs the first 3 times, but now I'm happy I did because I know what to do differently. Yeah, I think like even now this last year we had a lot of those like losing when we won ballots, and Yeah, I guess you have to decide your goal, really.
It's so validating to hear you guys say that. And it was like when Paul first, went to UOP and started doing really well, and I was like, is this stuff that I've been saying true still? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, thank God. Because there's this phenomenon where you get a novice going into their first tournament and they're walking into the room and they're like, I am so nervous. I have no idea what I'm doing. And it's like, no, just go in there and have fun. And they come out and they lose, and you're like, oh, what was it like? And they go, I don't think that judge knows what they're talking about. And it's like, how would you know? You 5 minutes ago, you didn't know anything about this activity. But the other thing is, like, whether the judge is right or wrong is a meaningless concept, because you have to figure out how to get that person's ballot. And even if you don't agree, it's like, all right, well, they're going to judge me again. So what am I actually going to do differently next time? And I think you two never felt like, oh, there's nothing I can possibly do differently next time, and kind of felt like that woe is me aspect of it. You were just like focusing on things you can change.
We're just because I have eventually my son's gonna be home.
I got one big question and then the two like little questions.
I had some I wanted to make sure I get to just because we haven't.
Great.
You two won nationals. We haven't talked about that at all, other than to say you've done it. I feel like I've communicated this to you two probably in these exact words before. Now I'm trying not to do the you two giving awards crying thing. But like legitimately for me, like pretty much every single day of my life, at some point, I'm just doing something, and it's not like I'm having a bad day or a good day. Sometimes I'm just driving, or I'm just like playing with Jack or whatever, right? I think it's the first time I've ever said my son's name on Proteus. That's my son's name. Don't look him up, you fucking weirdos. Anywho,
Look him up. He's got a rap sheet.
Yeah, maybe I'll. Anyway, but bottom line, every single day at some point, I remember that you two won nationals, and it like genuinely brings me joy. And I had a crazy question. A student a few months ago from who I had like years ago messaged me and was like, hey, I remember one time you talking about self-actualization when you were explaining like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I haven't talked to you in a long time. Do you feel like you've done that? Do you feel like you ever like self-actualized in your life? And I was like, if you had asked me this 6 months ago, the answer was no. But like now I genuinely do. Like the lack feels gone from my life, like genuinely. Like I don't know how to explain it other than that. Like I made that post, like I found the ball, and like it means so much. But what I want to ask, on top of me just once again thanking you for all that you've done for me, is like, what was it like? Like seriously, like in the moment when it happened. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but like when you two came back from that round, all of your coaches thought you lost, which is funny because I was like, I don't know about that, but all of your coaches thought you lost, which is fine, and they're brilliant debate lines. And honestly, sometimes that's a reason you think you, because like maybe you did in front of the best people in the country, but that's not who was judging you. But my bottom line being, Brenna is just like not having a good time. Okay, we talked for a long time, and I'm looking at the room, and Tristan's just Tristan, like fucking vibing or whatever, but probably still didn't feel super great or whatever about it. But like then you find out you're standing there up in front of the room. And you get to give each other that hug, but like really, when they announced that you won, walk me through that. Like just relive that and enjoy that you did that.
Well, first they say the side, and then you have to like think.
Remember that, yeah.
Like, why don't they just say
my name? Tristan, Tristan number one. Why don't they just say that? But no, I was rewatching the video like last night with Alex because what else can I do? And I was rewatching awards, like that specific moment, because I was like, I knew we had crazy reactions, but I just want to see it. And it's so bad because like I'm literally like both of us are staring at the ground. We're like this. I'm sorry. We're like this. We're like,
I'm in the front row too, like right there. And I already know.
We came back from war. We're waiting for like we're about to watch our families get executed, some awful shit. And then we hear like in second place the negative. And then I turn to Tristan, I'm like, who negative? Who's that? And then I realized, and Tristan, at that moment, I feel like you didn't have an overwhelming emotion, but like the sadness like left your face. But for me, I turned and I immediately go, because I'm like, yay, second place.
Well, for me at that point, I was just like, okay, well, it still could be a mistake, people misspeak, I was just gonna like wait it out till I got excited,
And then when they said our names, and then I cried. I don't know if you cried right then.
Yeah, I don't think I cried.
I cried.
I was dying. Because and like, can you turn to Alex for a second if he's still there? Is Alex still in the room? There's a moment where what? Go ahead, Alex.
Not all of their coaches thought they lost.
Yeah, I'll admit it, Alex was the yeah. But so anyway, none of the people in this complex, the rooms that were their prep rooms and were the tab room, and I was in the tab room, had glass walls, and I kept looking in the room, seeing how they're doing, and there was a moment where Alex looks at me, and he's like kind of like just chilling, and he looks at me, and I go, and Alex is like, and then has to like hide it. And like he knows ahead of time, and like the room had glass walls, but it had like this pillar kind of dividing the two sliding glass doors. And Steve was sitting behind that pillar with the ballots open because I'm following every ballot as it comes in. I'm like, please let them win, please fucking let them win. Like and it finally gets there, and Steve's like, it's in. Do you want to know? And I was like, yeah. And Steve is my coach, obviously, for those of you who don't know. So this is like a whole like grandfather coach thing. And he's like, and he's like, look at it, and he shows you that you won. And I am having to hide behind this pillar because I don't want you to see me freaking out at all from across the room because Brenna kept looking over and like sadly or whatever. And I'm hiding behind this pillar, fucking jumping up and down. And like, fuck you, motherfucker, blah, blah, blah. Curse, whatever. I'm like, oh, like I'm like losing my mind. Like I'm just so, and like Steve's like, you have to calm down. You can't let them see you, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, bring it down. And then I just have to pretend for like 5 minutes. Like pretend for 5 minutes that I don't know or whatever. Like when you two are leaving the room, I'm like, good luck, like whatever. But like, oh man, dude. Alex.
I think I knew before you guys knew.
Alex, how juiced were you? Like, you know, you're the coach. Like how juiced were you, like really, when you found out?
I mean, I was like, I had to be juiced. Of course I was juiced, but you know, I can't show that. Okay,
but like, I guess let me, just because Alex happens to be here. Alex, you won nationals, right? Like you already won nationals, and yours was like on. I'm not saying this in like a delegitimizing way, but in a vibe way, you won online. You won in like your apartment, basically, right, or Gabe's apartment, whichever one it was, and like that's how you found out. And you and Gabe hugged each other or whatever. But like, how did it feel differently winning your own national champion versus coaching these two to a national championship? Like, was that vibe insane for you, or?
Yeah, I mean.
It was okay.
I mean, I was happier with my own, but
well, see, I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, because like I was affected certainly by my own stuff, but I never cared nearly as much about like I mean when it's a bronze round at state, I'm having a heart attack outside of your rooms listening to what you're saying, you know. But yeah, okay. So you win nationals. What's the first thing you think like about? Like, do you think like I have to tell mom? I have to like, are you like just relive this? Like, there's a million kids watching this. There's actually like 10 watching this who maybe one of them's gonna get to have this and get to look forward to this someday, but most of them won't. Like, what is it like? I know your boyfriends were there or whatever, and your coaches are there. There's your teammates and your friends. There's all these people you've known. Like, what's going on? Like, how? Walk me through it. Just come on. I'm just trying to live vicariously through you a little bit longer because it's such a positive memory for me, and I've always wanted to know what it's like on your end.
I was like, I wish I wore more makeup today and like kind of went harder with the outfit. Like we're gonna have to take so many pictures, and I did not look good that day. It was like day 3 or day 4, and I just was like disgusted.
You were repping DVC. That's all.
Yeah, but like my hair was disgusting because we were like, yeah, the Airbnb shower kind of sucked. So I was like stressing a little bit. I did send a photo to my mom of the trophy, to the family group chat rather.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I won't
Oh,
lie.
we didn't get this on camera yet. Can you show the trophy?
Oh yeah, the mirror or whatever.
So
Paul asked them to show the trophy, and they're like, "Oh, we can't. It's holding up the laptop."
Can you see?
Wait.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Hey, don't
Hey,
Wait, you
yeah,
see my
Great.
No, we can't see your feet.
You guys see it?
Yes, we can see it. It's
looks
perfect. You can
really
go back to telling the story.
Wait, but like another angle?
not
No, you
that.
can't see
Yes.
it. Okay.
No, we saw it better. It's great. We got it.
Right.
You can continue talking about. You
It
said
was
your mom picked up
great.
the trophy. Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, it was very, very, very surreal because I especially because I really, really, really didn't expect it. Thank you so much, Paul, for keeping that to yourself because Paul ruined.
I ruined the other one. Yeah, I knew I had to.
Yeah, he ruined the bear for me, and I genuinely like. I was like, oh, like I'm not can't even be like excited anymore because it's not even surprising. But like I was genuinely shocked because I felt really bad about the round. Everyone was like, nah, you lost. And so to hear that, like, because I had kind of already accepted the loss.
Yeah.
And so I think that was like the
Who
most
says that to a person? I don't know. I think you lost. Like, it's not gonna help them to know, even if you do think they lost. Who's like, I don't know. I wouldn't hope.
People who have a combined 7 national championships already, they know what it looks like.
I get it, but just wait and console them after.
yeah. That was great. It felt great.
One of the funniest memories I have, and not whatever, but like, your boyfriends are there, and you were already doing the rounds of like hugging people or saying hi to people, and I looked at one of your boyfriends, and they literally were like, and I was like, and then what was funny too is because like, I don't think, like, obviously they probably knew you were good at debate, but I don't think they knew that you were like in contention, like legitimately to win the national championship. And they're just like, what the
Yeah, I knew.
Andrew, yeah, he
They had their flowers and whatnot. It was cute.
They came with flowers. They were ready. I mean, they would have us either way, but like
the worst.
they were
Sorry.
like, of course you won. Like, duh.
The worst part of the whole thing for me, like, obviously it's overwhelmingly one of the best experiences of my entire life. The worst part of the whole thing for me is like they won, and I had just been running on fumes for 3 days or whatever of nationals, and like that night, like I was like having a panic attack, like legitimately having like a panic attack at night. I wasn't on like anxiety medication yet, and I'm just like in my room, and one of my students had needed to talk for like 3 hours because they felt bad about debate or whatever the fuck, because that happens all the time. It's always one of my students. Island of Broken Toys. And it's now like 3 a.m. I have to be there early because I'm tab staff, and I am in my bed like, it's fine. It's fucking fine if they only make it to sems. It's fine. Like, they have to do it. Stop believing they're going to win the national championship. Like, don't get your hopes up or whatever. Like, it's fine. Whatever happens is fine. Get over it. You need to be supportive of them no matter what. And all I'm thinking about is Brenna and Tristan can win nationals. I'm so excited. I'm so happy for them. And the second you won, and like we had already hugged and everything, all of a sudden I'm like, my fucking baby's in the NICU. I can't stay here 1 second longer. Like, I literally cannot stay here 1 second longer than I have to. And I felt like this is so weird because like, I'm like, we have to go take pictures right now, and as soon as we're done taking pictures, I have to leave. Like, I'm telling you. It was a lot. It was a lot of my life. This is just the craziest. I don't know how I can ever forget that. I'm just so happy for you folks. So, Son, do the serial question so we can wrap up, unless they have something to say. Sorry.
You can say what you were saying, and then I'll ask a question, and then we'll.
It was a weird day.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like for me, like the last thing that was really mattered a lot to me was that I feel like that NPDA specifically had been like, I felt like everything that I'd fantasized about when I was literally 15 years old had been realized. Like, went undefeated. That was something that was like, I was going through that Paul was going through. I was like, the whole week, I was like, we could go 8-0. And I was like, don't say that. It's fine. 5-3 is fine. 5-3 is fine. We don't have to go 8-0. We're not going 8-0. Don't get your hopes up. And we went 8-0, and I was like, holy shit. And then, obviously we do really well. It speaks too. And I think one thing that was really important for me was giving thank yous. Like, that was really surreal. And, especially like being able to like thank Paul and all that. And then so like to win was just like the conclusion of like this like fantasy that I've held very dearly to me for like many, many years. And so I think that's what made it really special, because like everything was fulfilled.
Did we talk about when they told me you lost? Have I ever told you this story? I'm in tab, and I think it was your first ELIP. It was whenever you debated Rice. Oh. And the tab room has Shannon from Rice and me in it. But Conrad Hack is not, like, I don't know if he's just not aware that you were like my kids, or that I still, like, really cared about you and all this shit. And so in this debate, he goes, Berkeley drops, Rice picks up. And I'm like, what? Because like I've been following the ballots, and I'm like, dude, there's just no way. I'm like, there's like I don't want to. I'm not trying to be disparaging, because it's a good team. Rice is always a good year in and year out. But I'm like, dude, like this is not who they're gonna lose to after going 8-0. There's just no shot. And I was looking at the ballots, and I was like, dude, there's no way they lost a fucking tea debate to these kids. There's no chance. And I go, I'm like, we're just all doing it, like whatever, like we moved on with our lives. And I go, Conrad, what do those ballots say? Like, do they say I vote for Berkeley or I vote for Rice? And he goes, no, they say I vote Nate. I'm like, Conrad, did you check the flip? And he goes, no, the computer should update it automatically. I'm like, check. And he checks and he goes, and the thing is, like, Shannon has the opposite moment because Shannon has been told her kids are going to like quarters or sems or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I was told you lost and was like crestfallen. And like that, I went briefly into like, oh God, like I have a life, like my life here sucks, but my life back home is also really gonna suck. And like, and then they're like, oh no, you won. And I was like, there's a fucking God. There's a God, and God is good. Our God is an awesome God. It was unbelievable. I was like, all those, thank God Brenna wears that cross. Because otherwise, we were in trouble. Good
I
questions.
was wearing the hammer and sickle.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. Go ahead.
The other cross.
We had never made it past quarters.
Yeah, we had a quarters
Like
first.
that round was spooky. It was
Yeah.
super spooky for us. And that was also the closest round that we had.
It was the only close round you had, bro.
And then I think that's when the nerves kind of started to leave for me.
And that's when we went like crazy in stems.
Yeah, then it was just like, I feel like we had broken the curse that we had all year. We never made it past quarters, even once. And then all of a sudden, like we did, and all the spookiness had left. And then I was just like, okay, like.
Yeah, we felt like we were running now.
Yeah.
I have a question. Alex, this is a weird question to be sitting in on, but you're welcome to sit wherever you like. I coached Paul at DVC when I was still kind of competing. And then after Paul left, I started like proper coaching. I coached there like 8 years. After that, I've been coaching since. And at every institution I've worked at every level of competition, the best years that I've had and the best students that I've worked with have all been women. I had 1 year where I didn't have any women debating and the vibes were just awful. And every year, I mean, like, I
don't know if it's a DVC thing, dude, because it's also true this year. Like,
Miranda, Meredith, Tanya, like year after year after year. And I'm wondering from your perspectives, like, why is that? Like, what is it that consistently makes women so good at debate?
I think it's the hate.
Yeah, that for sure.
Yeah.
Also, like that whole thing you're talking about, like that novice mentality of kind of being like, I'm good at this shit, lose one round, and you're like, fuck, like, oh, the world hates me. I feel like men probably have that more.
It's the worst. That was the problem. The 1 year I didn't have any, like, I couldn't get them to be like, oh, that's bullshit, bro. I should have won that round. And it's like, but you didn't. Like, don't you want to know what to do differently? So yeah, I mean, you think maybe it's a receptiveness to learning, or I mean, I don't know. You guys talk so much about vibes. So I guess I'm asking because there's a lot that needs to be talked about with like women's experience in debate. But I think the part that doesn't get talked about much is that at least in my circuits and at least with the schools that I've worked with, like consistently the best debaters were women. And I don't know where that lives in the narrative, or at least in the discussion that we're having on these issues.
I have found in my experience, and obviously with you two, like very highly in particular, but it's like, I just find as a coach, it is so much easier to teach like a woman student, like in general, on average, like the willingness to accept criticism and to move on from it, right? To not take it personal. And like, I do think that I know I said the hate earlier, but like, I really think that's like actually a thing. I think that so many women, and both of you have definitely told me this, and Tanya and everyone else, right? Like, some dude at debate is almost certainly going to say some fucked up thing to you at some point, and like, you folks were definitely driven by that shit at various parts in your career, right? Especially when it was like a team that was worse than you and they would do it. Like, I'd never hear the end of it, and I was like, yeah, these two are just fueled by
What's up,
hate and
Tristan?
talent.
You got
Hey, yeah, so me and Brenna's first round together,
First tournament together.
was during the year that we weren't partners, and Tanya couldn't make it to this online tournament, and we just like went together, and we just had like this terrible, like misogynistic, evil, like ass round. Like, it was so bad. It was just absolutely egregious, like how we were treated in this round, and the judge like had an RFD that was just
Even
like
worse, like
even worse
yeah.
than the conduct that was happening in the round. And that shit just made us so angry.
I know.
And I always remember this judge's name, and this ballot like is burned to my brain.
Is that the one that me and Blake had to go into those meetings, like the meetings about? Or am I thinking of it? Is that a different one?
No, that was a different one with me and Tanya.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but it just sucked. It was so bad, and that was like our first experience together, like as debaters, was just like being like just experiencing like this awful like
Being
misogyny round.
essentially degraded in a round by both the competitors and then also the judge. Like, it was horrendous.
in a round where we were just like clearly.
Oh, I just remembered who this is. Got it. Sorry, I've been trying to think who this was, and then it just came together.
What would you? Somebody's watching who's had that same experience. Like, what would you say to them?
You're better than them. I think no, like genuinely, Paul, like, you know how many times I've gotten ballots or comments that have really, like, from like CC tournaments that really deeply bothered me, and I said that like I want to win Bavaro so that I can grab that trophy, walk down the aisle and look them in the eyes and know that I am better than them.
Yeah.
And you know what? And that doesn't happen because when you get to that level, you forget about them, you know? Like,
Yeah.
you forget about it. And that's like, sure, we still remember that and it still affected us like greatly, but like, I think it feels good to know that there's so many other things we've done in our career with debate that have amounted to so much more than that.
Sorry, go ahead, Tristan.
Also, just like advocating for yourself and just like making a big stink when that shit happens. Like, I think like just I think that's something that we didn't really realize. And I think especially in community college debate, you're kind of just told to just like let the judge like make their decision however they want to make it, and that your job is to be like deferential to the judge. But if that shit happens in a round, like, I think you like I think just advocate for yourself, because like we just felt like, oh, there's nothing we can do, which in some part is like maybe that was true, but I think like you just have to advocate for yourself in some way, because like that shit is not okay.
I feel like I already know the answer to this question for both of you. Do you still feel like you have something to prove? Like, you have one more year. You've already won both national championships and been top speakers. You were also the best community college debaters in the country. Like, basically every goal you've ever set for yourself in debate, you've done. Do you still feel like you have something to prove? Like, just each of you individually? Or does that, or I guess if you don't, do you think that even matters? Like, do you think having that chip on your shoulder matters for you? Or no, you're just a, killer or whatever?
I think I still I feel like the need to like prove myself. I don't know.
Yeah.
In some ways. I think also though, it's just like other life shit is important too. And I think it's like having that context, and like, I don't know, it's just like it's definitely becoming less important to me. Like, debate has never been like the top priority in my life. And I think like as I get older and as like my college career kind of progresses, it's it's definitely like less and less where I get my like self-worth from, or like just like where I spend most of my time in. So I feel like there's still that chip on my shoulder, and there's still like this urge to prove yourself. But I think like, I don't know, I'm just like I think there's so much out there that it's just like, I think debate maybe has taken like a little bit more of a backseat than it would have.
Like, also, what's someone gonna say to you at this point?
Only
like,
one.
Yeah.
All year. Well, two. Only one.
Yeah. They just happen to be nationals. Fair. Brenna, you feel the same way? Chip on your shoulder? I mean, I feel like, Brenna, honestly, for you, like, obviously, you've grown up a lot and all that stuff as well, but like, you always had something with this.
I
in you.
don't mean this in a mean way, Brenna, but I feel like you have the exact same personality you did when you were 15 years old. Which is to say that you were a cool kid. Like you're smart. You talk a lot of shit.
Very funny.
But yeah, I mean, I guess you have like grown, but I mean, I think I'd still think of you as a little shit starter.
Like, I expect I'm gonna get texts again this year at some point when you're at a tournament and some bullshit happens. Like, I'm just counting on it. You know, it's just.
Yeah.
I got 2 questions for you. 1, what is everyone but you wrong about when it comes to parliamentary debate? That includes me and Paul.
I think reading chicks is boring, and I am a political science major, but I'm just like, it's so boring. Like, I do
It's
not
so boring.
like
It's like
just-
reading security.
Yeah, I just
Grow
don't
up.
think your takes to sad. I think
It's the same people.
But elections.
Worst time to debate is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my
hate
gosh,
it.
this is gonna be their first election year.
My
Wow. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
midterms aren't any better because it's the same argument. It's not like the uniqueness matters. But
Brenna, did you have thoughts on
Brenna,
everyone's wrong?
I don't know, like, I think everyone's really smart. I don't know. I've talked about this a lot with Alex, and I think that maybe people do hold the same opinion as me, but like, I don't feel like it's properly expressed in rounds. I think like this has been confirmed that I'm correct because I do know for a fact that Lila does agree with me on this, but I think that people misuse pre and post fiat when they're talking about their own case. I think people say that something's a pre-fiat impact because it's not like like this is pre-fiat because the USFG is not doing it, blah, 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 all this shit. Like, it's only pre-fiat if it's rhetorical. That's my hot take.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, people want pre-fiat level impact, but as a result of a hypothetical thing that happens.
Yeah. No,
Like,
yeah. Those pre-fiat cases, like they have fiat all like.
Yeah.
Okay, my final question, and this is actually going to be a little difficult for you two to answer because you are both really kind people who are very good with expressing gratitude. But who do you think has helped you the most with your success in debate who doesn't know it?
Do you have one?
No, I'm gonna need a second.
Yeah. The better of a person you are, the harder this question is.
Yeah, that's what Tristan will need longer than me. Honestly, I think for me it's Matt and Tanya.
I was gonna say Tanya. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Matt and Tanya for me. I was gonna go with Jeff and Matt because I feel like I've talked to Tanya like a good amount about this, and I think that she's been more active in my life since we stopped debating together. But yeah, I think Matt and Tanya for sure. Like, obviously Tanya because of the partnership stuff, but like Matt like taught me a lot. Like, our first year together, there were a lot of times when we would be hanging out and he'd just be like, okay, like get on the call. We're gonna do a drill right now. Like, we're gonna talk about the Neolib King. We're gonna do this. And like, yeah, he was definitely always down to grind and always like wanted the best for me. And like, he knew that I wanted what he had when he went to SDSU and he was able to like do the thing. And I didn't have that. And so like, he wanted to like give that to me as best as he could. And I think that all of that has like really motivated me, which obviously lasts you for years. And like, I think that all the things that I learned from it also really stuck with me.
I had to explain this to a student recently. But like, basically they were like, how come Emily's getting so good so fast?
She's like, totally.
And I was like, because Emily goes home and her brother, who wants nothing more in the world than for her to be successful, is fucking Matt Hatomi. What are we talking about? He was just giving his time so much, because obviously I know how much he was helping you two and whatnot, especially you, Brenna, and like Tanya and all this other shit. I'm like, imagine if he was your flesh and blood Like what? Like it's like you don't go home and there's one of the 10 or so best debaters of the last generation or so is just there. And like, oh yeah, cool. How'd you do today? Checking in on you, making sure you did your drills or whatever.
Tristan,
But-
is that the answer you want to go with?
I don't maybe just that whole Firo team, like this first and second year that we were going. I think two big people were definitely Tanya and Richa. I think they just created like this really beautiful like sisterly feel to the team, and like I don't know, the 4 horse girls, which was like
it's so special, bro. It's like I can't. I mean, I tell her already, but like having Tanya Baxis on is just
I
like
was gonna
actually been
talk
maybe
about, yeah.
like this is the most fun I've definitely had with debate period since you two left, and it's so insane that like we show up to practice like twice a week or whatever, and Tanya's doing this all completely free. Like she's just an absolute saint in that sense. Like she's very much about helping people, just whatever. And every day I'm just like, okay, one of us can take the novice, one of us can take the open kid, and we need to do this. And Tanya's like, okay. And there's like never a question of like, is this going to be good? Are they going to feel good about themselves? Are they going to have fun? And she like none of that shit. And like she's just so excited to do it. And like, oh, all of the LD shit's already done. She just did that on her own, like unprompted essentially. And just I mean, I can't tell if we got lucky where in a 2 to 3 year period we had Richa, Tanya, Matt, Brenna, Tristan, and other folks obviously too, all going through the same community college, all of whom go on to be some of the best competitors. And like obviously we have coaches and resources at DVC. We're very lucky in that sense. Or like the sad thought I have regularly, this sounds so awful, and I don't want this is not just for any current students I have or any future students or whatever, but like the sad thought I have is like, what if this is it? What if like I never have students like this again who like care so much about their own personal like success and growth, but also love their goddamn teammates, and like even when it has no benefit to them whatsoever are willing to help. And like, I mean, you Tristan come into Reno with us last year, like what? Like why are you Tristan just gonna go judge for us or prep for us or whatever? And like, yeah, I don't know. It's incredible. Like Tanya and Matt, like and you folks too, obviously, like and I think that sorry, I want to say that like I think that for all the good you think of those people doing, I hope that you appreciate that. Like my students, the Sems, the Emilys, these people, Jasons, etc., feel that way about you folks, right? And they weren't even teammates with you, and so it's just so cool that you folks continue to give back in that sense. Go ahead, Hassan, wrap it up if you want.
Well, I was gonna say I was gonna jump on the Tanya train and say that like I'm so proud of her. I'm trying to get her on this channel. Do
I think she's gonna be a chess YouTuber, but
I think I can beat her at chess still. She can beat me in debate, but the part of the reason why I'm incredibly proud is like seeing her take a role that I had before and seeing her like pass that along. And it's early for you guys, you're still competing. But I'm really curious to see how you, pass that along to somebody else. And if I'm involved in that, like I'm like hiring you to teach somewhere, like I think that would be great. But I think whatever you guys do, I'm just very fortunate and very lucky to get to be involved and hear about it. And
first tournament this year is Rice for you folks.
Yeah.
Feeling good?
Yeah.
Feeling better than last year.
Yeah. I wonder why.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well, that's a shame. I was hoping someone could prep a GGO for me. Anyway, ignoring that.
Alex, thank you for joining this interview. Kind of against your will. But it's also just like really great to kind of see like the trophy get passed along. You know what I mean?
There should be them, but one of them is being held hostage.
So we're gonna go back.
Hey, send the trophy.
That's what
Send the trophy, dude. Send the trophy.
Yeah, we have to pick it up and pay for it. And apparently it's supposed to come with a bunch of like stuff.
At Rice? Like when you go to Rice, you're having to bring it home?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go get the trophy. But yeah, so thank you so much for coming along. always great talking to you guys. Go enjoy your lunch, and yeah, we'll be in touch.
All right. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks so much. I will talk to you folks
Bye.
later.